Greetings, folks. Scott Galbraith here, also known as the Great Scott, and welcome to the Great Scott's Roundtable. And today, we have a roundtable today that will hopefully provide you a lot of laughs. I want to tell you guys a quick story. Many years ago, here in Worcester, Massachusetts, I was attending a Gaither homecoming concert, and I saw a comedian that I never forgot and became a big fan of. And during one of the concerts, he announced that he was going to be participating in a movie called Thou Shalt Laugh with a whole bunch of other Christian comedians. Ironically, before I had a chance to buy it myself, my sister would run into that comedian at a convention and get me an autographed copy of Thou Shalt Laugh for either Christmas or my birthday. Sadly, I've forgotten which. Sorry, Becky. That's my sister's name. But anyway, that would just be the beginning of a long franchise that would go into the Thou Shalt Laugh series. 5 videos made over a 5-year period that would feature 20 of the top Christian comedians we have today. And I thought to myself, how many of these guys could I get together to talk about their experiences about being on Thou Shalt Laugh? I figured trying to get everybody would be too ambitious, so I thought, I'll go for about half. I'll ask 10, maybe I'll get 2 or 3. To my surprise, 7 of those comedians who had appeared on Thou Shalt Laugh were willing to participate in today's roundtable and talk about their experiences on Thou Shalt Laugh. Gentlemen, it's great to have you all here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
All right. And we also have one producer here as well. Now, as I mentioned to the guys before we started, I really cannot measure up to any of these celebrity MCs they had on the specials, but I'm going to try to do my best here and introduce you to each one of our panelists one at a time. First off, you know, when I saw Thou Shalt Laugh, I think it was after the second one, I had a dream. As a magician, I thought, man, wouldn't it be great if I could one day be the very first comedy magician to appear on Thou Shalt Laugh? Well, that dream was a short-lived dream, unfortunately, because the producers was already ahead of me on that one. And on Thou Shalt Laugh 4, we were introduced to the very first and only comedy magician to appear on the Thou Shalt Laugh series. He was on Thou Shalt Laugh 4. He was the first magic headliner at the Keller's Comedy and Magic Club in Erie, Pennsylvania. He's appeared at the Magic Castle and is probably the only guy in the world who can turn the phrase, "It's a bird," into a catchphrase. Please say hello to Dana Daniels. How are you, Dana?
Oh, sensational, but I'll get better.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Yes. Yeah, we need like an applause button or something. Feel free to clap for any of these. All right.
Just do this.
Exactly. All right. Next up, we have a comedian who is the star and screenwriter of the Christian comedy Sleeper Agent. He appeared in Thou Shalt Laugh 5. I actually auditioned for Sleeper Agent, but sadly I didn't get into the film. Hey, maybe next time. But he appeared in Thou Shalt Laugh 5. He is the very funny Leland Klassen. Did I say your name right, sir?
Close enough, yeah.
Close enough. What's the correct pronunciation? I knew I was going to butcher it.
Klassen.
Klassen. Oh, yes, and they're
like
the big
the pickle.
hands we talk about there. All right, you know, every so often when you watch Thou Shalt Laugh, you have a comedian who you just remember and you kind of have your own little nickname for them. And this next comedian is one that I have a little nickname for because he was the second comedian in the second Thou Shalt Laugh, which was called Thou Shalt Laugh the Deuce. So since he was the second comedian in the second special, I call this guy the Double Deuce. He has performed for 2 different American presidents, although one of them wasn't the president at the time, and he's done many corporate events. Please say hello to Dan Nainan. How are you?
Hello, yeah, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, Dan, the people who are watching this video right now, they're looking at you and they're probably wondering what?
What race is that guy?
There you go. Thank you very much. Perfect setup right there. Perfect setup. Okay. Now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, moving on, we have a comedian who has toured all over the country, and this guy did not do just one Thou Shalt Laugh. He did 2. He appeared in the second Thou Shalt Laugh as well as the 5th one. He's got many credits on Internet Movie Database, including the Christian film Woodlawn, and he's coming to us from the great state of Texas. Please say hello to Bone Hampton. How are you, Bone?
What's up? What's up? Thank you. Thank you for clapping, Dan.
I like Sorry, logo, I forgot to clap for Dan, too, so this is my double clap for Double Deuce.
I'm going to need some clap.
Exactly. Now we move on to a guy who actually has 2 very significant places in the Thou Shalt Laugh history. First of all, this guy opened up the very first Thou Shalt Laugh special, so in some ways he kind of set the tone. He was the very first comedian for anyone watching Thou Shalt Laugh to see. He also holds the 2nd place spot for most appearances in the Thou Shalt Laugh series, appearing in the first 3 and coming very close to the 4th from what I was told, but couldn't because of a schedule conflict. He hosted the stand-up comedy show Bananas and is currently the pastor of Center Church in Menifee, California. Please say hello to Mr. Thor Ramsey. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's great to have you here. All right. And next.
Everybody's on mute now that we're clapping.
And this next guy. This
Feels
next
like old
guy
times.
holds the record. This guy's name is synonymous with Thou Shalt Laugh because he is the only comedian to do all 5 Thou Shalt Laugh performances. I saw him, like I said earlier, with the Gaithers. He's a Star Search winner. He was on Last Man Standing. The list goes on. Please say hello to ventriloquist and piano player extraordinaire, the one and only Taylor Mason. How are you, sir?
I'm great, and a lot of people don't know what race I am either, so try and figure it out as you watch this entire fandango, and you got a prize at the end.
Oh, I knew this was going to be a lot of laughs. Of course, a lot of people who have seen Thou Shalt Laugh might not recognize the guy we have right here in the middle. Well, Taylor might have been the only comedian to appear in all 5 Thou Shalt Laughs, but he was not the only person involved in all of them. In fact, I was told that there would be no Thou Shalt Laugh if there wasn't for this last gentleman. This is the producer of all 5 Thou Shalt Laughs. He also produced the documentary Hillsong Let Hope Rise. Please say hello to the president of Grace Hill Media and the producer of all 5 Thou Shalt Laughs, Mr. Jonathan Bock. How are you, sir?
How are you? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, again, it's a pleasure to have you guys all here. And thank you for taking some time out to do this.
Man. First of all, I need to have a bone moment. I need you to say a little bit more of my credits, man.
I'm sorry.
Everybody on this combined. So I need you to say all of them. America's Got Talent, ABC's The View, All About Steve with Sandra Bullock. I need people to know I'm not just a black token. I got credits up in here.
I'm sure, yes.
He's
Yes.
living up to the
I
loud
just had
and
him
country
Well,
logo.
Bone, there's a reason for that. Of all the people here, you're the one person I didn't communicate with directly. So that's probably my apologies. I had to go through.
Okay, I'm tripping.
I had to go through your people. Everybody else I communicated with directly. Okay. By the way, Brother Pete is a great manager. Okay. Yeah, and not only that, but your Internet Movie Database credits were just so long I couldn't mention them all. My apologies.
Okay.
I chose the one I recognized, which was.
I was just in my feelings a little bit. Okay.
My apologies. All right, let's get right into it here. Like I said, thank you. It was kind of a miracle that everybody actually ended up available for this, and so much to the fact that actually Taylor and Jonathan. I know you guys have to leave us probably within the next hour, so I'm going to get right into things here. You know, every idea has a genesis. Everything gets started somewhere. So, Jonathan, would you please tell our viewers, how did someone come up with, let's take a whole bunch of Christian comedians and put them on one stage? How did Thou Shalt Laugh come about?
Yeah, well, my primary business is marketing movies. And I had gotten to know a producer named Hunt Lowry, who had done a bunch of great films, Donnie Darko, and A Walk to Remember, a few other movies as well. And one of the things that he had produced was the Blue Collar Comedy Tour movie. And so I happened to have worked on this movie called A Walk to Remember, which did surprisingly well at the box office. And so one day Hunt and I were having lunch on the Warner Brothers lot. And he said, do you have any ideas for anything that would be fun? I said, well, why don't we just do a kind of a Christian version of the Blue Collar Comedy Tour? We'll get Christian comedians. And he said, what's the title? And I said, Thou Shalt Laugh. Right? Now, sorry. I said, how about Thou Shalt Laugh? And he loved it. And now, look, I can tell you from working for 25 years in Hollywood, going from idea to actually getting something made is a very, very complicated setup. It's really hard to get things done. You need money, you need distribution, you need the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So we're sitting in Hunt's office, and he loved the idea. He picked up the phone and he called the head of Warner Home Video and pitched him the idea. The guy said, I love it, we're in. He picked up the phone and called 2 different investors, told them the idea. They said, we're in. I mean, it was 10 minutes tops. And I was like, this producing stuff is easy.
Wow. So, of the comedians that we have here today, I think I have this right. Thor and Taylor, you guys were both involved in the original one. How did you guys get involved in the project? Thor, you were on first, so why don't you go first?
Well, I was eating Captain Crunch, and there was a box top. I filled it out, sent it in. The rest is made up. I don't, it's been so long. I honestly don't remember. I mean, I'm sure somebody called me, but I don't remember any details of who called me.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't even remember if I had, it's been
You
so
don't remember
long.
anything.
How many years has it been now since Thou Shalt Laugh won?
I'm not sure. I didn't look at the copyright date on here.
15.
You never did tell us who signed that. Is that Taylor that signed that?
Yeah, it's Taylor. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Taylor.
What does it say on it? What did he say on it?
Yeah.
He says, what does he say? He says, Scott, next
Don't buy
time.
this DVD.
He said, Scott, next time I get your autograph, which he has not done yet, by the way.
Okay.
There you go.
Taylor, that is your signature right there, right?
No,
There's the bucket. Really?
that has.
She
I don't know where
forged
you
it.
got it.
Your sister forged it. She lied to you.
Yeah.
Right.
He has a twin sister that doesn't act too. You don't know that.
Oh boy. Well, Taylor, what about you? Do you remember how you got involved?
I got a call from this producer in Los Angeles named Hunt Lowry, and he said, "I've got this great idea for a show. Do you want to be on it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "How much money do you have?" And I gave him a figure, and he said, "Well, if we do 5, you can be on all 5 for that." So I got hired right away to be on. And who knew there were going to be 5? But it cost me a ton of money.
I knew I bid too low. I knew my bid was too low.
So anyway,
I think what actually happened was I think I sent a video, or my agent sent a video into Jonathan Bock at Grace Hill Media, and Jonathan looked at the video and said, "Well, if we're desperate, here's one." So that's pretty much how I got hired to do that one, and then
We actually ended up picking Taylor because I was a huge fan of Star Search. When I was 6, I was like, man, we got to have this guy. No, it wasn't that.
Oh, Bach, by the way, was a comedy writer, worked on a bunch of sitcoms as a comedy writer. That's the truth. And
that's some great stories.
It would really help if you would write for me right now. So, yeah. And I just heard some dogs barking. I just heard dogs barking. I don't know if that was Dana's dogs or somebody's dogs, but it's okay. The World Health Organization, also known as the WHO, said dogs cannot be infected by coronavirus. So let your dog out. Who let the dogs out? Let them go. Everything's fine. You hear dogs barking. I heard them. Don't sweat anything. It's all.
Yeah, I think those were Dan. Don't you have some dogs with you as well?
I met my sisters. Yeah, those are her 3 dogs. Sorry.
And one of them killed somebody, isn't that right? One of your dogs.
no, one of them, the little one, which like the size of a chihuahua, is now known as a potentially dangerous animal, and that's in capitals by the county here because she bit the Amazon delivery person. And now
that's a nice story. That's
and now my sister might lose her homeowner's insurance because of that bite. So we're waiting to hear.
Wow.
Oh, well.
There's no punchline.
Well, sorry to hear that.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm dead serious.
On that note,
It's that dog to the full
Hey,
extent
Siri,
of the.
show me all my pictures of dogs.
yeah.
I'll
So
get
anyway,
her
so
your
Thou
picture
Shalt
in a
Laugh. Thou Shalt Laugh comes out. It's a big success. Am I right, Jonathan?
No.
No, it's not. Yeah, well, usually if something's a success, you make a sequel, which you guys did.
No. So let's do 4 more.
Yeah. All right.
No,
It's not that successful. Let's do 5.
No, it did.
Dangerous dog.
Yeah, it did quite well. And again, it wasn't like it didn't pay for all this.
Is this true, Jonathan? Because I used to say this all the time, so I hope it's true. But in promoting Thou Shalt Laugh, when I used to tour, I used to say it was the best-selling comedy DVD at that time in the market.
Christian comedy DVD. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had that on my promo too.
It definitely sold more than the 2,500 copies of Bones Bananas.
Not cool. Not cool, Bob. Not cool. Not cool, man. Not cool. Not cool. Not cool. Let me tell you what you're not going to be able to do in 2020. Pick on the black dude. You can't do that no more. I'm glad this recorded Because we going to be down there protesting Grace Hill Media. We ain't playing no more basketball games in your backyard. We ain't roller skating around your house. You going to be on a T-shirt.
So anyway, so a year later, Thou Shalt 2 rolls around. Now, I was always curious about this. Is there a reason why you guys had 7 comics on the first one and then 5 on the second? Was there a reason why you cut down the number?
Yeah, it was a smaller budget.
There you go. And you know, so Taylor and Thor come back, and at this point we have Bone and Dan added to the roster. So had you got Dan, Bone, had you guys seen the first one? Dan, why don't you go first? How did you guys end up on Thou Shalt Laugh 2?
It was a gentleman named Tony Camacho, who's a manager who was based in New York and is now in Las Vegas. And he asked me if I was Christian. I said yes, and he told me about Thou Shalt Laugh, and it was very fortuitous. It was wonderful to be part of it, and so I am eternally indebted to Tony Camacho.
All right, Bowen, how about you?
Thor. Any white show I do is always because of Thor. They booked Thor. Thor didn't really know anybody else in LA, so he was always like, Bone Hampton, the next dude I know. And so what was cool about it, Bock had been getting mixed reviews about how I was as a person to deal with. And so Thor was like, man, you got to call Bock because he's hearing from half the people, you just a big teddy bear, and hearing from the other half, you the worst person in the world to work with. You got to call him and clear it up. And so Bock was like, dude, what is it, man? And I was like, Bock, as long as you don't screw me over, we good. But if I think you're trying to get over on me, we're going to have a problem. Bock was like, can you be at the church at 6:30 to do this show? And so that's how I got up.
Just so you know, a little known fact, I was also on Thou Shalt Laugh 2. I was in the audience sitting next to Matt Eisman, the host of the American Ninja thing.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
And also in the audience that day, Michael Jr.
Michael Jr. was in the audience that day?
Yeah, he didn't want to sit with me though. He had his people call me.
Now we know why he didn't show up for this.
Yeah. So anyway, so a year later, you do Thou Shalt Laugh 3. Now I think Taylor and Thor are the only people we have here from that one. And on Thou Shalt Laugh 4, I feel like I did. First of all, I should say something to Mr. Dana Daniels. You might find this interesting.
Okay.
One of the things that I always do when you are a low-level entertainer like I am, there is no such thing as too much networking. But I think that's pretty much true for everybody. There wasn't a single one of these that came out that after I got it and watched it, I wasn't looking for some of you on social media. Okay, and I found Dana shortly after I saw Thou Shalt Laugh 4. Dana, I think there's a chance I'm the reason why your cell number is not on your Facebook page. Let me explain this. I actually, after I requested you and you accepted, your phone number was on there. I'd already met Taylor at this point. And, you know, being another magician, we both knew Taylor. I thought maybe I could say hi and we could talk. I call you up and I have the most awkward phone conversation in the history of awkward phone conversations. Tell them who I am and you weren't all that impressed. You were like, oh, okay, and then we had nothing to talk about. So the conversation literally lasted like a minute and a half. Next day I'm feeling like, oh man, that was stupid. I got to call him back and say, I'm sorry. I pull up your Facebook page again, your number's gone. So I'm wondering if I'm the reason why you took
first of all, I don't remember this conversation.
Yeah, it was that awkward. And it was that awkward.
Yeah, what you don't
know. I don't remember even pulling my phone number off Facebook, but
But anyway, well, getting back to when it came to Thou Shalt Laugh 4, this is of course when you were brought in, and you know, just maybe tell us.
Hold on. You didn't have redial? You couldn't just go the day before, look on your phone, and go, "That's the number I called."
The call log.
It's hard. I have never figured out how to use the call log on my phone, believe it or not. To be honest with you, it's a long story. I don't have the phone. I didn't have the phone that I have here now at the time, so it's a long story. But anyway, so Dana, how did you end up? And maybe Jonathan, maybe you can add to this as well. Was there a reason why you decided, hey, we need a comedy magician this time, or maybe Dana, you could tell how you got involved?
I don't remember how they found me. I remember I think I was in an airport on my way to a gig, and I got a phone call, and it was about doing the show. I don't remember who called me. It might have been Jonathan.
Okay.
Yeah,
do you have
well,
any memory of that?
I mean, look, this is generally how I found all of these guys. Is I Googled Christian comedians, right, and then I had to clarify the search and write funny Christian comedians.
Ah!
That's why I had to have a manager introduce me.
Yeah. So the reason for Dana was, you know, you have to make these things feel the same, you know, so that it feels like it's in sync with the other ones, but they all also have to be different. And Dana just felt like he brought a different style to it, but still funny. And you know, essentially, the core of this was not like to make Christian jokes, right? I mean, as a matter of fact, when you watch this stuff, there's not a lot of like, you know, churchy jokes. You know,
Right.
There's no like the difference between you know, Episcopalian and a Catholic.
Right,
No,
exactly.
not
Right.
jokes like that. And
It's one of the things I love about them, actually.
and so it's essentially just clean comedy, and Dana just worked really well.
Oh,
Yes, he
thanks.
did.
I
Luigi was,
appreciate you having me on the show. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, Luigi was good too.
Sweet.
I also realized that other than Taylor, who did all of them, you are literally the only person from part 4 we have here. So thank you for joining us. Leland, you came in part 5, and I was also told, didn't you once tour with 2 of the other guys here? Weren't you on tour with Thor and Bone once?
Yeah, we used to tour. We had a bunch of different tours. Pure comedy, though. We did some pure comedy tours together. I even did an illegal Thou Shalt Laugh tour with a promoter. I shouldn't probably say this in front of Jonathan.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
But it didn't really work out anyway. So we were using the name, and it failed.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, wasn't Darren I'm not going to pronounce his name here. Is it?
Streblo.
Streblo, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he go with you guys as well?
Yeah, absolutely. But actually, I don't know if you know this. I wasn't supposed to be on Thou Shalt Laugh 5.
Oh, really?
I was
Talk about
I
that.
was a last-minute fill-in for Thor. Thor was like, I'm kind of tired of these or whatever. I don't know what your excuse was.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. I had a gig they wouldn't let me out of. They just wouldn't let me out of it. And I just, you know, I've disappointed so many people in my life. I wanted to keep my commitments for once. So.
Well, that's good. That's
You know,
good.
it's really, John
Good enough
Branyan.
reason.
I let John Branyan down once, and it always stuck with me. And I was like, I'm never doing that again. So.
Yeah. For the record,
We got ourselves the poor man's Thor Ramsey.
oh man, this is a ton of fun. By the way, Darren was one of the people I reached out to about participating in this. He actually had the best excuse of anyone that said they couldn't be here. He actually had a family obligation, so Darren's not here because he had a family conflict.
Well, that's what he told you. He's actually on a Zoom call with Michael Jr. right now. They're doing another one.
Oh man,
They're using the Thou Shalt Laugh name illegally.
Hunt Lowry, Michael Jr.
Gilbert Escobar. Mario Jackson.
Yeah, it's
Now, one of the things that happened, I mentioned this beforehand. This happened completely by accident. But of all the comics that we got here, we've got almost the entire cast of Thou Shalt Laugh 2 here: Thor, Dan, Bowen, and Taylor. The only person we're missing is Victoria Jackson. And one could argue that of all of these celebrity hosts that you guys had, Tim Conway, who did Thou Shalt Laugh 2, was probably the biggest comedy legend of them all. No disrespect to the other hosts, but he was probably the biggest comedy legend. So I was wondering if Dan, Bone, Taylor, and Thor, you guys, what was it like working with Tim Conway? What was it like having him as?
He was such a nice man, and I could not believe I was on the same stage with a legend like him. I do remember that he had trouble with my last name, Nainan, and if you see the video, they cut away when he's introducing me because they had to do it again, a pickup, and have him do it a couple of times. But I mean, to have worked with someone like of that caliber is one of the high points of my career. And I remember asking him, first he said, "You did a great job, Dan," and I couldn't believe I heard that coming from him. And then I said, Mr. Conway, may I have a photo with you? And he goes, oh yeah, I'll take it. Deadpan, you know, it's just brilliant. So it was wonderful to work with him. And what can I say? I mean, you know, God rest his soul. He's a legend. So
Thor,
that's my
Taylor,
take.
Bone. You guys
Well,
got
he was
anything?
dating my mother at the time, so no, serious. It was a great honor having Tim Conway read off a teleprompter and say my name. It just can't the impact that left upon me. No, of course, it was a great honor. Just because he is a comedy legend. I think most of us grew up, you know, watching him on the Carol Burnett show. So, you know, there's a professionalism to what you're doing. So it's a professional production. So sometimes you have more interaction than others, but he was gracious and everything like that. But just the fact that you're on what it does for you is it just gives you credibility with a lot of relatives who never thought this was a good idea for you to begin with. That's really what it did. It was like, oh, Tim Conway's introducing me. Oh, well, I guess he's okay then. I guess this comedy thing's going to work out. So that's really the best thing it did.
Bone, Taylor, you guys got anything to add about Tim?
I scared him. He was backstage, and he was looking over his notes in between acts. I think it was whoever was on before me. He was backstage looking over whatever it was he was going to say. And so I went up to him and said, hey, Mr. Conway, I just want you to know. He went, oh, you know, I scared him to death. And I didn't want to, he was getting up in years and I didn't want to, you know, do anything else. So I didn't really ever get to meet him. That was my only meeting with him. I scared him half to death.
You know what he was doing? He was going over his notes on how to say Dan Nainan. Because of that.
And that's why it messed up. That's why you never got it right.
Yeah, that's right.
The only person I would have liked to work with more from that era would have been Jim Neighbors, since Gomer Pyle's my favorite TV show of all time. but you know, working with Conway was amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, he's a legend. So how good is that?
Bone, you got anything to say about Mr. Conway?
I don't think he really understood how my name went with this Christian comedy show. So when he introduced me like something was wrong. He was like, and welcome to the stage. Boom.
I did notice that.
I was like,
yeah.
Say my last name.
Yeah, I know. I noticed.
Or taught me.
I was going to ask you about that. I rewatched all your segments this week to make sure this was all fresh in my mind. I went back to all the videos and I watched all your segments.
Or what's left of your mind.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, it was.
I was going to ask you about that, but you got there first. So.
Yeah, he was like, "Welcome to the stage." Boom. I was like, "Hey man, I got a last name. Thor has taught me. Hey, in white churches, you probably need to put a last name on that name. Don't just be showing up at First Baptist talking about your name, Bone.
Yes.
You need to be Bone Hampton." So I'm like, "Damn, help me out." He's like, "Man, I can't remember. They working me way too hard for this little check. I got to remember Dan's last name."
Yeah. Yeah, Jonathan, how did could you talk at all about how, you know, the different celebrity hosts you had came to be the hosts?
Yeah. So just a fun memory of Tim Conway. When we made an offer to him, we didn't deal with a manager at all. It was just directly with Tim, and he gave me his home phone number. I mean, or just call his house and he'd be like, "Hello,"
Wow.
which was fun. And another thing I remember about him is we would do kind of a, you know, basically like a run through of the show before the audience was there, and just working everything out. And I just remember Tim sitting there and really engaged in all of the comedians while they were just, you know, practicing and doing their stuff and laughing. Like he was just, he had no ego at all about it. He was there for a fun night and he had a great time, and he was just so kind and genial. But to answer your question, the Patricia Heaton choice was, you know, she had just come off Everybody Loves Raymond, and she seemed like just a really great fit. She was, and she ended up having, you know, another huge show. So she's done okay. And so she was just a really great choice. You know, sometimes it just comes down to who can you get and who can you get for what price. Right. And you know, there were folks that we wanted. They were just, you know, out of sight price wise. But you know, I'm really happy with the choices that we got. They all really delivered really well.
Now, I do have one question in here that I'm actually asking for a family member, believe it or not. I watched Thou Shalt Laugh 3 with my dad. I got Thou Shalt Laugh 3 for Christmas the year that it came out. And I watched it for the first time actually with a couple of my family members. And my dad was convinced that Sinbad's Q&As to the audience was staged. Were those completely off the cuff? Or
totally off the cuff? Totally
off the cuff. Wow. Well, that answers that question right there. Now, was there ever any, and anybody can answer this one, was there ever any talk about doing another one of these after part 5? Was there ever any talk about Thou Shalt Laugh 6? Did any of you ever hear anything?
It was shot. We shot it. Yeah, it just didn't work. So they just shelved it.
Stop.
They never released it.
Who is on that one? Because I remember that I said I want to be on Thou Shalt Laugh 6, and Bock said, you know, after 5, we pretty much all our focus groups are, please don't have the guy with the puppet come back on. Can you find anybody else? So I know that might have been an issue, but who was on Thor? Just out of curiosity, who was on Thou Shalt Laugh 6? Do you remember?
We actually signed non-disclosure agreements now that we actually can't talk about who that was, because there were death threats upon this person. I don't want to say.
I can tell you this: Leland was in the audience for it.
True story. True story. Yeah.
Okay.
We actually, but believe it or not, we've actually talked about doing another one of these, and maybe doing with somebody like Netflix. So TBD on that.
Well,
Thor, book up your schedule, Thor. I'm looking for a last-minute replacement.
You guys are looking for another comedy magician, let me know.
I'm pretty flexible these days, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Taylor, you were kind of making a joke about this, but I am curious about, there is something I am curious about. Is there a reason why Taylor was the one comic who did all 5? And also, is there a reason why he always went last? Or is that just a coincidence?
There's probably a lot of reasons
why
I always went last.
There's a couple questions there. First off, why did he go last? We found in focus groups that people were tuning out and that leaving him last wisest.
I saw that joke. Get in a taxi in Manhattan, I'm all the way down here in New Jersey where I am before you said it.
You know, it's, you know, one of the things, and I think that comedians can talk to this better than me, is when you do a show like this, you kind of burn the material, right? If it gets seen a lot, it's tough to keep doing those jokes. And for some guys, I think that was a challenge. And one of the things that's great about Taylor is a lot of his stuff is, especially when he participates with an audience, and I would guess Dana's the same way. It's like, it's so improvisational.
Right.
You're not really sure how it could probably be different from show to show to show, how that turns out. So Taylor just doesn't really, we've just felt like he doesn't really burn through material like that, where he's got it. Because any one of these guys can tell you, like, it takes them a long time to get a good 10, 15 minutes, and you don't want to just blow right through it and be done.
Yeah, like comedians work solo. Taylor has like 5 other people, all these dummies writing for him. So yeah, clearly.
And it took me 10 or 15 years. It took me 10 or 15 years to get 10 or 15 minutes. But you know, I think it speaks to the fact that, I mean, if someone is on every show, he's obviously a great comic, and you know, we as comedians know that the best comedian is always last, and the headliner, if you will. And so I just think it speaks to the fact that he is a great comic, and that's why I would think so.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I didn't have
to owe you money or something?
Pay Taylor. Also, I didn't have to pay Taylor in cash. I just paid him in steroids and gainer fuel.
will be funny.
Oh man, I knew this was going to be a lot of laughs, but
Okay,
this is
so
far from-
here's one before, because I've got to leave here because I believe it or not, I've got important stuff to do. But I just wanted to get this off my chest before we go any further, because I've been waiting to tell this story for probably 15 years.
Go right ahead.
So when I was in college, I played college football for the University of Illinois, and we played a game at Ohio State University. And the writer from the Cleveland Plain Dealer wrote about me. I was a fifth-year senior, so I was like 21, 22 years old. And he wrote about me. The middle guard for Illinois would not start at Moeller High School. And the reason I bring that up is because his name was Chuck Heaton, and his daughter was Patricia Heaton. So all I ever wanted to do, the only reason I wanted to do that one Thou Shalt Laugh with Patricia Heaton was so I could go and talk to her about her dad. But at the end of the show, I see her walking out, and I said, "Can I have a minute to talk to you?" "No, I'm in a hurry." And she walked right back. So I didn't even get to get that off my chest. But so finally, I get this off my chest. Yes, thank you. I just wanted to
actually,
say
you
that.
kind of. Funny thing is, Taylor, you actually kind of answered. I was going to ask next if any of you had any stories to share about behind the scenes of filming. So you kind of just shared yours right there. Anybody else have anything they want to share as far as like maybe stories that happened that we didn't see when you guys were on stage?
Patricia Heaton, actually, this is interesting. She was commenting. There's an interview, I don't know, it was years or so later. But they were talking about the acts that night, and she said that Taylor Mason couldn't close the show after high school. That's how bad she thought he was.
That's a true story. That's a true story.
Anybody else got anything or anything on that?
I sell a lot on 5. There's a kid that I know from Arab, Alabama.
Yes.
He's had like 14 surgeries by the time he was 11. And so he come to the show, introduce him to Bock. Bock like, "This is a great story. Let's do something with him on stage." So he's supposed to say, when I ask him, "Who's your favorite comedian?" he's supposed to say Taylor Mason, because he told me that. And so I'm going to have a deadpan look like, okay, I done embarrassed myself, but everybody ain't ready for stage. He gets on stage and say, "Who's your favorite comedian?" He say, "You." I'm like, that's not funny. I look like a narcissist jerk. What are you doing? Bock looking at me like, yeah, we ain't never doing that no more with you, boss. Never letting you bring
I actually
nobody
just
on.
watched that last night. Yeah, that was great actually. That was great.
Yeah, I got one story for you, which is on the first one. I mean, for all of these, they're essentially a one-day production shoot, right? I mean, you shoot it in the evening, and it's a live show, and there you go. On Thou Shalt Laugh 1, it was actually like a 2-day shoot because we did like the comedians like around Los Angeles, like talking with people. Man, was it painful. I mean, it was like, we were like, oh, what a mistake this was. So we didn't repeat it after that, but oof.
The B-roll made a F.
Anybody else got anything to share? I want to give everybody. I'm trying to make sure that I give some of you a chance that haven't.
I still have people still come up to me. Literally, I hear this. I heard this Monday night. I did a gig in New Jersey at a theater outdoor, and people at the end of the show came up and said, "We've got you on Thou Shalt Laugh. We've seen you on Thou Shalt Laugh." Of course, people always get the name wrong. They always say, "Oh, we've got all the Thou Shalt Not Laugh DVDs."
Yeah.
I've heard that. I bet you I've heard that 100 times. We've got all the Thou Shalt Not Laugh DVDs. And maybe that's what there would be a number 6 if it had been named Thou Shalt Not Laugh. That might have
Yeah,
worked.
that was the day 2 shoot is basically what.
I'll share this because a lot of times when you do comedy, as your career, and especially if you're a Christian, you want it to count, you want it to mean something, and it's entertainment. All right, it's not going to mean that much, guys. It's just not. But I had somebody tell me this story and it's one of those, when you hear it, you're like, you don't get to hear stories like this very often. But his mom's dying of cancer, right? And she's just it's a mournful time for the entire family. And in the hospital, they put on Thou Shalt Laugh, or it came on the television. I don't remember which, but they watched Thou Shalt Laugh. And the thing that made him a fan was that was the first time he saw his mother laugh since the whole episode of her dying in the hospital. So you hear something like that and you're going, yeah, that's the kind of thing you need to hear every now and then.
That's sweet.
You know who else? Luke Smallbone from For King and Country. When I first met him, he was dealing with, I don't know if it was cancer, but it was something life and death. And he told me the same thing. He said, man, the Thou Shalt Laugh series kept me laughing in the hospital and pulled through. So that's real talk, what you're saying there, Thor.
We're going to film number 6 in a cancer ward.
No, I would do a lot of church gigs across the country, and constantly after the show, I had people come up to me. They would have a copy of the episode and want me to sign it. And then other people would say they see me on these shows, Thou Shalt Laugh. And so it was quite popular. I mean, I heard about it for a long time. Still do occasionally.
Not popular enough for a tour, though. Didn't seem to work out.
Oh.
Well,
You mean an illegal bootleg tour?
And illegal, yeah, for sure. I think it's because they had like the 6th stringer on as their headliner for the tour. They're like, "You're not even on the series, are you?" Yeah, no, I'm on it.
Funny thing is, I did an audition for your film and was Facebook friends with you before I realized that you were on 5. So that's saying something like that. Sorry about that.
And there you have it. There. I get a lot of that.
I had this whole thing happen, and then Bones people reached out to me and said, "Hey, why don't you invite this guy and this guy?" And I was like, "Well, I'll just look them up." And then I'm like, "Hey, wait a minute, that's the guy who was doing the Sleeper Agent movie that I auditioned for."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh man, I got to invite him." I didn't realize the problem is there's so many people on here. It was hard. We never could have done this with everyone. We never could.
It's funny though, because I did get that actually a lot of shows where people are like, "You're on Thou Shalt Laugh? Which one were you on?" That's mainly what I got.
Yeah.
I was on 5.
Oh, they think you Streblo, right?
They think I'm Streblo. Yeah. Oh, you got the leather
I was
jacket?
on episode 4, and our host was John Tesh.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun. That was a fun episode.
Yeah, I really had a lot of fun. I think we filmed it down in San Antonio.
Mhm.
And I was real excited to meet John Tesh because I had a little backstory. When he left Entertainment Tonight, they were looking for someone to replace him. And the producer of Entertainment Tonight was at the Magic Castle and saw me perform. And he came up to me and he says, "Hey, I'd love to have you on Entertainment Tonight." And I said, "Oh, are you going to do a story on magic?" And he goes, "No, I want you to replace John Tesh." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Give me your phone number." I gave him my phone number, and I went home and told my wife. I said, "This sounds nuts," and that was my dog.
Yeah. I think I hear Luigi in the background.
Yeah,
as well.
and Luigi's here too.
Okay.
Okay, quiet.
Continue.
I'm telling them the John Tesh story. Quiet.
that's just why he didn't get the gig, by the way, is his dog bark on the ground.
It's a bird. It's a bird.
Animals are going crazy all of a sudden. So the guy called me the next day and he said, "Yeah, we want you to come on down to Paramount and we want you to sit in on a production meeting and then we want to test you in the studio." And I did. I sat with Mary Hart in a production meeting and I'm going, "This is really weird." And then literally they said, "Hey, let's go down." And it was that quick. And then they sat me down and put me in front of a teleprompter. And the thing is I've never read off a teleprompter ever in my life. So I was horrible. And I didn't get the job. It went, that other guy got it. So
I got a little John Tesh story. I mean, a lot of people know John, of course, from Entertainment Tonight, and some know him from his music career. But one of the things a lot of people don't know is that John wrote the Entertainment Tonight theme song, and he also wrote the NBA theme song. Okay, and so he's done really good. He's done really, really, really well. And so after the show, and he was a delightful man, and lives here in Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles as well. And we shot this down in I think it was Texas, as I recall.
San Antonio.
Yeah, San Antonio. There you go. And so the show's kind of ending. It's all ended up, and everyone's kind of just hanging out on the stage, and the comedians, everybody kind of backstage. And usually, what we would do is we would have kind of a let's go out to dinner. Take the comedians out to dinner or something after the show. And so I came up to John and I said, listen, do you want to come out to dinner with all of us? He said, actually, I'm not staying in town. I'm flying home on my jet. Do you want to ride? And I was like, bye, fellas. I'll see you later.
No dinner tonight.
No dinner.
On his jet.
Here's $20. Order a pizza.
I have good news. We're down to about, we're probably about, I think, like 10 or 15 minutes away from losing Taylor and Jonathan, and I'm actually down to the last question I have. So we actually timed this pretty well. Now, obviously, it goes without saying you guys want people, to laugh at these specials. But is there anything else you'd like people, anybody can answer this. Is there anything, if someone's watching one of the Thou Shalt Laughs, is there anything else you'd like people to take away from them? Or is it just laughter? Or is there anything else?
Well, for me, for me, part of the reason that I even did this is that I find all these guys incredibly funny. And, I think people don't understand how hard it is to do clean comedy. It's not easy. And, I forget what comedian it was, but, usually what happens is if you're bombing on stage, you go blue, right? You go dirty when you need the joke. And these guys don't have a net under them like that. And so I was just always so impressed with what they were able to do and make people from, all walks of life laugh at clean comedy, that I just think they can stand up with anybody and entertain. And I wanted to make sure people knew that.
Cool. Anybody else? Anything they want to add?
That says it all, I think. Well, unless somebody has something else to say, then it doesn't.
Yeah, speaking of clean comedy, I remember talking to a manager who said that he got a call from Disney, and they said they were looking for a clean comedian for a cruise, and he goes, "Okay, yeah, I'll get back to you." And then they called back and said, "Never mind, we got one, Bob Saget." And and then they called him, and then they called him back about a week or two later and said, "Hey, we're looking for a clean comedian." Because what had happened was, Mr. Saget, who I opened for once and was exceptionally nice, he and his family were on the ship, and he performed once, and they went to him and said, "Mr. Saget, you and your family are welcome to hang out on the ship for the rest of the cruise, but we don't need you to do any more shows."
That's a true story.
Yeah.
That's a true story, because I worked for Disney Cruise Line, and they had him come on, and it was a high-end, cruise, and you've got all these people with their children, and if you've ever seen Saget's act, it's just not a kid's show. So even though, oh my gosh, so he went up and did his thing, and it was brutal. I, however, laughed hysterically in the back of the room. I thought it was one of the funniest shows I've ever seen in my life. But he wasn't on the. You're supposed to do two shows. They did two seatings. He wasn't on the second one.
It's funny though that he doesn't perceive the audience of where he's at though. I mean, I've seen him work clean. He's done a lot of TV sets where he's Merv Griffin and everything, where he's clean and very funny being clean. You would think he would go, "I'm not in a nightclub. It's a family show."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
but he's funny.
Actually, I just want to back it up here just a moment. Taylor, one thing, I should have remembered to ask you this, Taylor, when everybody was talking about John Tesh. But the thing that you did at the end of your act where you had him play, like one chord on did he know that you were going to do that? Or did you?
Oh, yeah. He was very gracious, and, we rehearsed it. And, so actually, I think he probably came up with the idea,
really?
To do that. And I tried to play along with it. He was very gracious, and all the hosts were great. I've had every show I look forward to. Actually, one of the reasons I have to leave is the same reason Jonathan has to leave here in about 5 minutes, because we're going to film Thou Shalt Laugh 6. And they've got 3 other really good comedians.
And Luigi has to leave because he's on it, but not me.
Okay. Well, actually, speaking of which, I know these have been out for a couple years, and I'm sure that even though they were very popular, I'm sure that somewhere in this earth there are some people who have not heard of these. So if people do want to get the Thou Shalt Laugh DVDs or stream them, what would be the best place to look for them? Anybody know?
My garage.
Uh,
I think the dollar bin at
Yeah, Walmart's dollar bin. Yeah.
yeah. Seriously, no. I mean, seriously, are there any like websites carrying them or anything? If
Isn't Crown running them right now?
could be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Crown
yeah.
Entertainment, and I think you can get them on Shopify there or something.
Are they
Weren't
still
they on
Netflix?
Amazon for a while? I mean, weren't they
They were
airing
on
them
Netflix for a while.
They're on Netflix for a
Tell
while.
you what, we'll put them on. They're available right here at this website that you're looking at right here, right. And I'll get that for you, Scott, and then you
Yeah.
can drop it.
You have that technology now? Wow.
Yeah, I wish I had that technology. So anyway, so that's actually all the questions I have. Anybody have anything they want to add before we wrap this up here?
Just want to say thanks so much for putting this together. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, hey. Well, you guys were a great inspiration to me. And you know, one of the I don't really ask it. In some ways, I feel like you guys are doing me a favor because, like I said before we went on here, there's no such thing as too much networking, which is one of the reasons why I looked a lot of you guys up. One of the things that I do offer all my guests. Here comes the pretty much only thing I do for a commercial. In 2014, I had the opportunity to make my screenwriting debut. I made a movie called The Reconciler, which I was also in. It was actually Roddy Piper's last movie. Unfortunately, we didn't get the best distribution deal on this thing. So I always say to my guests, anybody who wants a copy of this, you can get one from me, free of charge. No, free of charge, no problem. So if any of you would like a copy of The Reconciler, I will gladly send it to you.
Is a script, you mean?
What? What'd you say?
Roddy
You
Piper,
mean a script, when you say
movie.
copy, a
What'd you say?
script or a movie?
No, a copy of the film. A copy of the film. We made the film back in 2014.
Oh, I'd love one. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so just shoot me an address I can mail it to, and I'll get you. If any of you guys want one of these, I can send it right out to you. It was.
Thank you very much.
Roddy was only on the set for 2 days, but we were his last movie.
I don't need it because I have all of Roddy Piper's movies.
My question is.
So you got this then? All right, gentlemen. Well, this has definitely been it's great.
Taylor and Jonathan, it was good to see you guys, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much. Hey, Luigi, nice to see you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to see everyone.
And check out Thou Shalt Laugh. Thank you very much.